African Championship.
Yes,
for the Pat O'Connor Memorial Tournament.
Who were basically the team that was going to get fed to the Steiner brothers in the first round between Colonel Cluck and Sergeant Slaughter and
Colonel DeClerc.
Whatever. Who gives a shit? Colonel Klink and
Sergeant Kruger.
And Sergeant Kruger going up against Kalua and the Botswana Beast. And my favorite part about that was, because the other two were from South Africa, and they kind of stuck their gimmick out, and then the other team from Africa, Kalua and the Beast, and it's like it's the Botswana Beast, and it's like so they're from Africa, and you don't know. I'm like, okay,
so good,
horrible booking.
No, honestly, I am completely convinced that Ole Anderson was at a bar and was like, "What can we name these guys from Africa?" And then he sat there and looked up at the fucking the wall of liquor and said, Kalua. That's a great name. And I mean, there were so many botches in this match that, like, I can't even explain it.
Ole Anderson might be the reason why CTE is a thing now. He might have been the first unclassified case of CTE just from that show itself. But if you get a chance, please check it out.
Tom Zank and that, high cross body is so good.
For the longest time, I wanted to blame him for the fact that the match was so shitty, but then I realized that Primetime Brian Lee is. I could be wrong here. Was Primetime Brian Lee the dude who played the fake Undertaker? Or was that one of the dudes Skull and 8 Ball? It was one of Skull and 8 Ball. Primetime, there's no way in hell that the Undertaker would have signed off on fighting Primetime Brian Lee.
When he fought himself.
I bet you any money, though, there is a time where Primetime Brian Lee did fight Mark Calloway when they were in WCW.
And a loser must shave their mullet match.
You know what the best part about that? I just realized that show happened not too long after, or around the same, it was around the same time that the Undertaker actually debuted as the Undertaker for WWE Survivor Series.
Yeah.
So,
hey, that could have been a golden ticket there for.
That's probably the other thing that led to Ole Anderson's termination is the fact that they let Mean Mark Callis go and he came out as a dead man.
Right. So
another thing, I'm going to kick myself the rest of my
life. No. Let it go, dude.
No.
It happened.
This isn't frozen.
It happened.
It's not frozen. So, anyway, let's get into the main topic of discussion for today.
It was Brian Lee. All right.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. I'm glad my brain sometimes remembers this stuff. Booyah.
Ha. You have to remember stuff if you had a brain. I completely botched that.
You botched that, too. It's not just a gimmick. It's a lifestyle.
I'm not even drinking really as much as I used to. What the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah?
Oh, wait, I know what's wrong with me. Never mind.
See, so part of the thing for the last few weeks that I've done, the church I go to does not, do the 40 days of, giving up something. They're like going, oh, we want you to fast. I've decided I gave up caffeine and alcohol until Easter. So I've been doing it silently for a little bit, but that's why I have not been drinking at least the last few weeks for the podcast. So I'm like, oh, all right, well, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
And not too terribly bad. I'm sitting there though. After work yesterday, I was getting ready to stop my ban on the alcohol because I was pissed off beyond belief.
I actually, after talking to you yesterday, I really thought that you were going to have those beer dispensing helmets, but I thought you were going to have both bottles of the blackberry brandy in those.
Sure.
Just hey, this is how I counteract that.
So, part of the coronavirus thing, Brainless One has to go to work. I am at kind of home confinement. I'm working from home, but trying to communicate with people from work has been if I saw them in person, it'd be super easy to just work whatever out. But because it's emails, phone calls, text, it's driving me absolutely batty because there's no clarity, and then all of a sudden crap blows up, and I'm like.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Do you miss the shit bag?
Of course I do.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Mm.
We got to get the shit back on the wrestling show too.
So
there's quite a few people I'd like to get on the wrestling show.
Yeah.
At some point.
So we'll see what we can do about that. But if you are tuning in for the first time, make sure that you like and subscribe to us on all our different platforms at the FNMARKS. And as far as Facebook goes, make sure you set the notifications for whenever we go live, that you are notified that we do go live. And we're on the Wrestling Marks page at facebook.com/WrestleMarks. So make sure you set up those notifications. And a lot of times we will share it also on our very own Facebook page, the FN Marks. So,
and I have something else in the works. I know that I've been saying a lot of things over the years where I will say something.
That something is in the works, and it takes
it takes me almost as long as the Iron Sheik getting into the ring at WrestleMania 38. But I do have something in the works. Hopefully, it all works out for today, that I actually could get this going so that I can have a huge announcement for next week.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it. Jay knows about it. I've actually started reaching out to other people in regards to this. But in regards to the coronavirus and how it's going to affect total brainless annihilation, I will be delaying total brainless annihilation. I'm going to suspend that indefinitely until the whole.
Are you afraid that the blow-up doll has contracted the coronavirus?
How dare you say such a thing about the blow-up doll?
Are you afraid of that?
Yes. How dare you make those assumptions that I would be afraid of an inanimate object that I'm going to beat the holy hell out of to prove that Kenny Omega is I'm going to beat that freaking blow. Come on. It's an inanimate object full of hot air.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. If I lose to a freaking blow-up doll, I might as well I don't even know. I mean, just the fact that the more I talk to people about this and the more people want to do it, I have to do it because of the whole ban of more than 10 people in social gatherings type of thing. And there's actually going to be more than 10 people for this, which I'm astonished by.
Sweet.
So,
all right.
We'll once we get that figured out, I'll post that on the Facebook and everything, and we'll go from there.
All right. So WWE made it official this week. WrestleMania will not be taking place at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, brother. It's now going to be, right for now, they said Performance Center, but it's going to be in various locations, and I completely understand why they're doing various locations.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense now.
Because you want to keep as few people as possible in one area, and that's kind of, I guess, something that's different between what WWE is doing right now and what AEW is doing. Like, literally, I think we had, 2 matches on Raw, and I think like another 1 or 2 on SmackDown. And, they did simple things like having the AJ Styles Undertaker contract signing where AJ doesn't even come out. They're trying to keep, I think, everybody as healthy as they can and away from each other as much as they can until they could get the show done. And whether or not it's live or pre-taped, it's like, hey, if they're about to tell us we can't move, they may have to pre-tape WrestleMania. It may have to happen.
Yep.
As much as that sucks, we might end up, we brought this up before the podcast. If Brock Lesnar gets stuck in Canada, what happens with that match with he and Drew McIntyre? Do we end up getting, an hour-long match between like Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins to fill time?
Kevin Owens might also be affected by that too, because all the wrestlers are home.
Okay.
So it could affect Kevin Owens. It could affect Sami Zayn, Natty Neidhart. It could affect the singles. They were saying
Natty's in Florida.
Did she move to Florida?
She moved to Florida a long time ago. Her and Tyson Kidd are in Florida.
And I was going to say Edge, but now I know for
Edge is in North Carolina.
He's stayed away from us. But it is affecting, like Brock Lesnar does live in Saskatchewan, so that definitely affects Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn both live in, I think, Quebec.
I believe you are correct.
So it's going to affect quite a bit of WrestleMania because there wasn't just Brock Lesnar that they were saying could get stuck there. I just think Brock Lesnar is the most stubborn of people that could get stuck in Canada and not play smart. Plus the fact that all these hotels are not going to be letting people in. So that's going to also affect what happens with all these wrestling talents.
This just crossed my mind. if Brock Lesnar decides that he doesn't really feel like he wants to do it, you know what I think Vincent Kennedy McMahon would fucking do?
Bring Drew McIntyre to Saskatchewan and have him fight in like a field.
What he'll do is he'll have Drew McIntyre. I think McIntyre would actually parachute in. They take the WWE corporate jet, drop that motherfucker off, and then they're gonna have a camera crew.
Oh God, please! Of all the people, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. Except for one problem: how are they going to get into Canada if the border is closed?
They're flying over the top of it.
You don't think that they're just going to stop a freaking a private jet or anything like that from coming from?
It's Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
You're making it seem like Vincent Kennedy McMahon is like bigger than like.
I'm not saying he's bigger than anything. I'm saying he doesn't give a fuck and he wants his show to go on.
That's fine as long as they send Kevin Dunn up there and he gets stuck in Canada. I mean, he'll be in like orgasm mode because Kevin Dunn gets stuck in freaking Canada. Think of all the trees that are going to have up there. You know how many dams that he can build up there? There's a lot of dams that he can build up there. A lot of damn wood.
Owens lives in Florida now, too. Also, Donnie Brown Snow says he has $20 on the blow-up doll.
God damn, are you serious?
Yeah.
Really?
They have no faith in you.
How am I going to lose to a blow-up doll?
You never know.
How in the... You know, people, let me explain something to you, okay? And it's bad enough that I had to convince my girlfriend to actually take part in this. Actually, didn't really take much convincing. I told her what I was going to do, and she's like, "Oh, I want part of this." So, I mean, this is bigger than I've ever thought it was going to be. In fact, there's going to be more people there than at WrestleMania. But anyway, because of that announcement, I will not be going to WrestleMania this year. This is the third time.
You announced that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but now that it's official, now I'm officially not going.
You announced it 2 weeks ago that you weren't going.
Yes, but now it's official, and like the money has been returned and everything.
It was official 2 weeks ago when you said you weren't going to WrestleMania.
Yes, but now the tickets are sold, so now nothing I can do now.
When you tell people you're not going to go to WrestleMania, there is literally no chance you're going to WrestleMania.
I wasn't here 2 weeks ago.
You announced it on the show that you weren't going to WrestleMania.
That was last week.
So it was official last week.
But now it's officially official now that the tickets have been reimbursed.
Yeah. Fucking merry-go-round. Fucking merry-go-round.
Okay,
the horses go up and down and around. Up and down and around.
Oh, that's what you think, Jay. The merry-go-round hasn't worked in like 13 years.
Yeah.
It's just been stuck, and it just kind of like makes that sound as it's not moving.
Yeah.
Half the horses are broken. I'm sure I killed 3 of them on the merry-go-round anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, maybe we should talk a bit more wrestling here.
Also, and because of what's happening, they decided they're going to do WrestleMania over the entire weekend. So Saturday and Sunday will be WrestleMania. I think that's very interesting that they're going to be doing that. Another interesting aspect to all of this is that they actually canceled NXT TakeOver and the Hall of Fame for that weekend.
Rumors are abounding that as long as coronavirus has finished its thing, possibly having the Hall of Fame induction during SummerSlam weekend.
That's fine.
You know, if you can't do it during the shows, do it during the hottest show of the summer. And
I was thinking if they're going to cancel WrestleMania, or like if they're going to cancel NXT TakeOver, have some NXT TakeOver matches on the WrestleMania card, so that it's probably going to be hard to get people like Walter over there, but shit, I mean, who wouldn't want to see Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano wrestle at WrestleMania?
Well, and that was part of the thing they did with NXT this week. Like, they didn't really have matches. They had a lot of like hype packages, and they had character building, like vignette stuff.
And my favorite part was the fact that for the second time in the history of professional wrestling, that a wrestler worked for a show for one brand and was on the show for another brand in the same week. Kind of like how Rick Rude did it back in, I think it was 2000 or 2001, when he was on Raw, but he came out on
1997.
Was that 1997?
Because he did it right after the Montreal screw job. He quit WWF because he was so pissed off with what Vince McMahon did to Bret Hart. And in the episode of Raw, he had a mustache. In the episode of Nitro, he did not.
That is right. You are right. He did
Yeah.
that. I remember that. And my favorite part was, like, it was just so surreal for me. I remember that because it was just so surreal seeing him on Nitro blasting the shit out of WWF at the time. And there he is standing there. And it was like literally like as he was out during Nitro, you could actually see him standing at the ringside in the corner of D-Generation X.
Yeah.
But anyway, fast forward it now to March of 2020, and we had another incident like that. So last night on SmackDown, they decided they were going to replay the John Cena versus Bray Wyatt match from WrestleMania 30, kind of to help, build up for the WrestleMania 36 rematch between John Cena and The Fiend. And who was part of the Wyatt family back at WrestleMania 30?
Hey, one Brody Lee.
A.K.A. Luke Harper. Or F.K.A. Luke Harper, who came out on Wednesday on time.
Oh, coronavirus.
That's not funny. For the record, I sneezed like 3 times and everybody walked out of the office. I wasn't happy about that at work.
Hey, you know what? People are being like super cautious, but it's like down in Virginia right now, all the plants are exploding. So like my allergies have been up, your allergies have been up. It's like,
and that's what the word. I think that's the worst part about what's happening with the coronavirus is that it's happening around the time everybody gets their fucking allergies.
So,
and it's just now it's like you sneeze and people look at you sideways, and it's like you can't control a sneeze. That's Vince McMahon.
He hates sneezes.
I love sneezes.
Yeah.
As long as I don't get like 87 of them in a row. But anyway, so Brody Lee came out as the Exalted One for the Dark Order on AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday. And no surprise. Actually, I'm really not surprised.
Well, I mean, it was between him and Matt Hardy. I think after Chris Daniels did that package where he made fun of it, like, because, I mean, there were certainly some hints that he might be the head of the Dark Order. But, once they did that, it's like, all right, it's down to the new people.
Yeah. Or Raven.
Right.
Raven would have made sense because they kind of like plugged him in the crowd and everything. So, but it was Brody Lee. The first thing he said was, Chris Daniels, you are not the first old timer in wrestling who didn't believe in me. And I'm like, oh shit, you already threw shade at Vince McMahon. Oh goddamn. But so I'm glad he's getting this opportunity. I would have loved to have seen him in Japan because, like you and I have discussed before, he would have made a killing in Japan because he looks too much like Bruiser Brody.
Well, and I guess with what's going on now, it's probably good that he's still here. Tony Brown Snow, absolutely 100% agree. He said during times like these, get out there and support your favorite wrestler, buy their merchandise, because guess what? They're going to be losing money off this. WWE is going to lose millions of dollars. WrestleMania is their biggest ticket item the whole year between fan access, takeover, the Hall of Fame, and WrestleMania. For as much crap as I give them for caring for nothing but money at this point, like, you want to make sure that the people are getting paid. You want to make sure that people are able to put food on their tables. And they've been, entertaining us for a long time. For as much misgivings I have about things WWE does and has done, you know what? Let's support, the product that has, been there in entertainment for us. I mean, think about after 9/11. What was the first gathering of people that happened in the United States?
SmackDown Live.
It was SmackDown. So, while every other sporting event has been canceled, except for Australian rules football, we have WWE still, and we have AEW still. So we still have wrestling, and do what you can to support.
Just a little other tidbit I'd like to add, because it's on the other side of the world, and they're on the opposite end of the spectrum in regards to the coronavirus, and yet our country doesn't want to follow suit. Japan announced that they will start performing professional, wrestling events in front of live crowds again soon, as in like immediately.
Yeah.
Which means that Japan and all those countries in Asia are now on the back end of the freaking coronavirus,
China.
so that they will actually be getting to that point. The countries that actually quarantined themselves and told their people not to leave their houses for any reason, whether work or anything like that. Just stay in your house for 2 weeks. Stay in your house for 2 weeks. Ralph Northam. People would, be better off. And this thing would have been, it would have been bit in the ass, and we'd all be over and done with all this shit.
Well, it is what it is, and we gotta do the best we can with what we've got. So
I would go a lot more into detail of how pissed off I am, but then everybody would know where I work.
right.
So, anywho, I thought that was a very interesting thing. Korea is in the same boat and everything. I love that thing that they have.
Well, Tokyo, I mean, they've got the Olympics,
Yeah.
so I guess they have to test it out. And the Olympics might only have Korean people or Japanese people viewing it live.
Right.
It's still possible that nobody will be able to get there.
Right. One person in particular who won't be going home anytime soon is my dad. That poor bastard should have been home like over a week ago, and he's stuck here for another 2 months. I'm sorry, it's not funny. I mean, it's not like he's somewhere stuck in the middle of nowhere. I mean, he's surrounded by family and everything, so he's got a place to stay. I know. And I think the saddest day was the fact that the state of Connecticut closed down. Ned Lamont cried. I heard he cried for like 36 straight hours because he wouldn't be able to collect taxes while the entire state is shut down.
Yes.
So he's on suicide watch.
Anyway, let's get back to wrestling.
Yes. We also had, since we brought it up, we also had another debut happen on AEW this week.
At the end,
as the return of the Broken One, Matt Hardy.
And Vanguard won.
And Vanguard won. That is absolutely correct. Came out at AEW at the end of Dynamite. And Matt Hardy will be replacing, I think it's Nick Jackson, in the what was supposed to be the Blood and Guts match that
show that they were supposed to have on Wednesday.
But because of the fact that they made it so that gatherings of 10 people or more are not allowed, and since there was 10 people in the match, if you add a referee, something here just doesn't add up correctly. They had to cancel the Blood and Guts, and they're going to have it at a later date and time.
Yeah. So, good times.
There is one thing I did really want to bring up. And a lot of people, I know a lot of people were talking about this, and there was a lot of people who are upset with the way that AEW has been doing it. Because at first with AEW, the way that they were doing it was they had a lot of guys who were like, independent stars and everything like that, the Darby Allins and the Joey Janellos and the MJFs. The guys that they could proclaim as like homegrown because they never had the opportunity to be exposed to national television, limelight like an Impact, from Impact or WWE or New Japan or whatever. And that was the thing. And they brought in guys like the Hangman Pages and the Jack, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, who made a name for themselves and established themselves in Japan, and then brought in a nice fusion of talent who are known for their days in WWE, like the John Moxleys and the Sean Spears and the Pacs and the Jerichos and everything. And it seemed like it was a nice combination of all of that brought together and made it what it was. And people were concerned that the biggest concern that they had about AEW was they didn't want them to be like what Impact became, where Impact would bring in any old wrestler, any guy from WWE,
and put a championship on them.
And not even just put a championship on them, just bring them into the fold and everything. Because it seems like a lot of people who are getting released.
And put a championship on them. Like literally their biggest title. Like Christian Cage was he was a mid-card dude in WWE. He goes to Impact and became the champion.
They did that with R-Truth.
They did that with R-Truth. They did that with Kurt Angle, but Kurt Angle's a GOAT. So, that's understandable. They did it with Jeff Hardy.
Matt had to work his way to get to that point.
It took him a long time.
Yeah,
but,
and he deserved it when he wanted to.
But my point in bringing up that they became champion, it was like they were taking the scrap heap from WWE and like putting them to the top of the mountain almost immediately.
Yeah.
Where like, seems like AEW, it's like, oh, yes, they've had big debuts of these guys, but we'll see if they turn into something.
Well, my thing was, and I was reading up. I've been reading up a lot about this for this entire week. I've been reading a lot of stuff about wrestling. Is that a lot of people are getting frustrated because guys like Matt Hardy and Luke Harper, who is now Brody Lee, are basically coming into AEW. Matt Hardy was basically thrusted into a main event caliber match, literally walked in the door, and it's like, here, we're putting you in this 5-on-5 tag team match. It's going to be like a War Games type of thing. And, oh, here, by the way, Luke Harper, we're going to make, you're now Brody Lee, and we're putting you as one of the bigger storylines that, we're building up towards with the Dark Order. So here, you're going to be the exalted one. And a lot of people are like, well, just make sure that they don't, overlook people like Darby Allin and, guys like that, and just, concentrate on some of the younger guys instead of having these older, near the end of the road wrestlers coming in from WWE to take these spots. And people are saying that it's going to happen the same way when the Revival finally become available to join AEW.
People are saying, what are you saying?
What do you mean?
You keep on saying people are saying. What do you say?
What do I say? I agree with them.
I don't.
I agree with them. I think that this is exactly what they're not supposed to do. They shouldn't be doing this.
I don't agree with that.
I thought it was they had a nice compliment of people that they didn't know about. Because it's all about exposure. You don't need guys like Matt Hardy it just doesn't make any.
Do you think Matt Hardy has no fans?
No, Matt Hardy has fans.
Then if he signs with your company, are you going to sit there and put him at the bottom of the list? Literally, no. He has earned respect and earned fans throughout a 20-plus year career. So you're going to sit here and you're going to sign him and you're going to put him in a shit spot just because you want your newer talent to shine. Well, guess what? You could sit there and put him in the ring with a guy like Sammy Guevara and then have Sammy Guevara go over. You need somebody who has a reputation. They brought Jericho in specifically because of that. They bring in somebody like Matt Hardy because he has name recognition, and people will know him from WWE. They will know him from Impact Wrestling. They will know that he is going to be weird. Now, Brody Lee, I somewhat agree because he was not what I would call a top-tier star at any point. He won the Intercontinental title. I agree that he did not have enough opportunity in WWE, but for him to get thrust into this spot as the Exalted One, to me, seems like a bit of an overreach. I hope he can knock this out of the park. I don't know if he does, because I don't think there are a lot of Brody Lee, a.k.a. Luke Harper fans out there. I mean, I love his Twitter.
We all do.
But Matt Hardy, I think, completely fine bringing him as he is. Brody Lee, them making a huge deal out of him after he came from WWE does feel more like an Impact move.
So basically what I'm looking at is that maybe I'm lumping in Matt Hardy with Brody Lee, and I shouldn't be doing it because of the fact that Matt Hardy over the years has established himself to be a credible option to add because he's going to put eyeballs on the TV, as opposed to a Brody Lee who, yes, he has a terrific freaking social media account. And, I like the guy, you like the guy. We made fun of the guy because he had like 2 tank tops in his entire wardrobe.
That were washed.
That never washed and everything.
Maybe.
And it's like now they're putting him in charge of a stable that, as a guy
I don't know
who
if he has the credibility.
He doesn't have the credibility for a guy who held the Intercontinental title for maybe a hair over a month. A guy who held the tag team titles, I think, a couple of times.
I enjoyed when they were, what the hell was it called?
The Bludgeon Brothers.
Bludgeon Brothers. I enjoyed that. I was hoping that when they got back from injury that they would re-energize that thing. But so it was interesting, though, that when Brody Lee debuted on AEW, Bray Wyatt actually came out and said, something to the effect of like, another has left me. And he mentioned Rowan, but he said Braun never left, which was an interesting thing to say. But it was interesting that he actually referenced a guy on the competing show. So
that's very interesting. Yeah, I agree with that. That's very interesting that he did that. But at this point, I mean, Bray Wyatt's still kind of pissed off because him and Matt Hardy were kind of thrusted together, and they kind of turned that into something. And it's because of the fact that WWE Creative didn't want to give Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt creative control over what they could have done with woken Matt Hardy and freaking Bray Wyatt is the reason why Matt Hardy is now with AEW at this point. So it's very interesting. It looks like, they all have creative control of whatever they do in AEW. That's why somebody like Jon Moxley benefits a lot more working for AEW than he would in WWE. He's in the perfect spot for him. He's not one of those guys that should be scripted with what he says, and the fact that he was just not, he wasn't beachy. He made it to the big time. He became a Grand Slam champion. He's part of arguably one of the greatest factions, if not arguably the greatest faction in WWE history. Once it's all said and done, his career is going to be a Hall of Famer 3 years after he's dead, obviously. But nevertheless, he'll still be a Hall of Famer. And he made a name for himself, and it was a good move for AEW to bring him in because he took his popularity and the people following him from WWE, brought that towards AEW, and he turned himself back into Jon Moxley, which the Attitude Era fans like yourself and I and, Corey and Jeff and everybody else, and everybody loves Jon Moxley. Now he's the champion. It's the right move for him. That was probably the best move that AEW has done, other than maybe signing Chris Jericho.
And just of note, Moxley has actually set up a GoFundMe to help pay some of the independent wrestlers that lost some bookings. And it's on the WrestleMarks live feed. I believe it was Chris Brown posted the link. So if you go there, again, support these Indian wrestlers who are now without any income. And
unless it's Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling.
So I would say even the guys at Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling, although I don't think that is what they use to fund their lives.
When I found out how much they make per show and what the dude was telling Corey and my other buddy Corey, what he was paying for wrestling school, it was kind of stupid.
So I think at this point, actually, Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling guys are making more money by not wrestling. So, true.
That's not saying much.
It's true.
I am curious to see what happens to that dude that was in World's Most Dangerous or whatever the hell they were, America's, whatever that group was called.
Yeah.
With the big cat. With the smelly
kitty litter.
Yeah, with a smelly fat dude who might have some serious mental issues was bringing cat toys and kitty litter to the freaking arena like an idiot.
For somebody who keeps on saying you're never going to bring it up again, you bring that up an awful lot.
It's like a bad breakup.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so yes, go fund the independent wrestlers that lost their income. We appreciate what they do, going out there and sometimes performing only in front of a handful of fans. But I mean, they're trying to make their way up through the ranks and make their way to WWE, AEW, New Japan, and now they got nowhere to go, nothing to do. Yep. So anyway, but do you want to keep on the AEW train? Do you want to?
Yeah, fuck it. Let's keep going with the AEW train.
As we mentioned, Blood and Guts has been delayed, not canceled, delayed until further notice. Tony Khan more or less said this is an inappropriate time for us to have a match like this. We will figure out an appropriate time to have a match like this. So that came out not that long ago. But for Dynamite this week, we had Cody come out, kind of give like a heartfelt speech, about the fans, about all the things that the company and the country's been going, well, the world's been going through, and then he, quickly shifted to trying to sell the match for Blood and Guts for this coming Wednesday, and you end up. The Elite came out. You had Matt Jackson come out, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and there was a cool moment here where like Jackson kind of asks man to man Hangman Page while he's sipping a beer, what if he's with them, and Hangman just gives a nod, and so. I don't know what this does. I'm guessing during Blood and Guts, this was supposed to be where the Hangman decided to hang the Elite.
Let's see what you did
there. And what does that do to that now? Does Hangman turn next week, or do they try to keep this storyline going until they figure out when Blood and Guts is going to be?
They're probably going to have to keep this. They're going to have to keep this going because I do think there's going to be a point where wrestling is just going to stop because of like what we were saying with WrestleMania getting taped because they don't know how long this is going to go. I do.
And if anybody in WWE gets the coronavirus, like it'll be shut down immediately.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's what happened with the NBA. One dude got coronavirus, we're done. And that's why they want to possibly pre-tape stuff because if one person gets it, but so AEW, Blood and Guts, delayed, and they were selling for it, but oh well. But what happens going forward with Hangman Page should be interesting, and I'm sorry for Squirrel Brain, it just happened.
Yeah, you're fine. Because you're right, because at the end of the day, coronavirus is going to impact everything. Because like you were talking about Hangman Page, and if this is going to just draw out the storyline, there is a possibility that we don't get any live wrestling or any wrestling whatsoever. Like we're going to probably end up having like Vince McMahon in his basement, drinking some scotch and reminiscing about the golden days of professional wrestling, where Hulk Hogan was body slamming 500-pound giants and freaking, Bret Hart was spitting in his face and all this stuff. And meanwhile, Cody Rhodes is going to be talking about the glory days of his dad wrestling in the NWA, main eventing against Harley Race and Ric Flair.
Woo!
And that's basically what we're going to get because there's going to be a point. I really do feel like at some point, especially in this country, and we're just dragging it out and delaying the inevitable, this country's going to shut down, which means there will be no wrestling being shot or taped or anything like that in any aspect, whether it's WWE, AEW, Impact, independent shows, whatever. There's going to be a period where we're not going to have any wrestling. And you and I are going to be sitting there talking about Clash of the Champions 13 for like 3 consecutive weeks.
I can't wait.
I can't either.
Clash of Champions 13 needs to be dissected thoroughly as much as possible. It is so shit. It's awesome.
Just remember, The Fiend's dad wrestled at Clash of Champions 13.
He did. He debuted.
Michael Wall Street.
Which I would say not even 2 years later, he took that character to WWF.
And became the insurance, or the
he became the tax man. Speaking of the tax man, and being affected by the coronavirus, your taxes are now not due until July. That is July 15th. You have a 3-month reprieve. So if you've not gotten your taxes done, you've got like 4 months almost.
I just think it's funny that me, the ultimate procrastinator, I get my taxes done like before Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Because usually, I usually within a week of getting my W-2, it's done. So,
all right. So we had that, and they actually did have a decent slate of matches on Dynamite, and they used the wrestlers to be part of the crowd, and it certainly helped add a little bit to it, and just.
I was really curious to see what AEW was going to do to counteract the fact that WWE did SmackDown in an empty arena and then Raw in an empty arena. And it was like AEW was like, oh, we could do the same thing. WWE could do it, we could do it. And it was just weird. And everybody freaking crucified WWE because the first SmackDown that they did in an empty arena, it was Sasha Banks and Bayley going up against Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. And during the commercial break, you see them not doing anything, just kind of standing there. And chit-chatting and all this stuff. And it's like, well, and then, obviously anything that WWE does that's wrong or stupid, people are going to just make a giant deal out of that. So I was curious how AEW was going to do it. So the fact that they had like all the heels sitting on one side and all the faces sitting on the other side, and they're just kind of like, cheering on everybody. MJF, by the way, I'm going to say this. He fucking, even when he's not wrestling, MJF is the biggest star that they have. He is, and I've said it before and I'll say it again.
Young star.
He is the future of professional wrestling. Not AEW, professional wrestling. MJF will be the biggest star in professional wrestling 2 or 3 years down the road. You heard it here first.
All right. So we had a match between the Best Friends and the Lucha Brothers. Best Friends, they're a couple of good hands in the ring. You know what? They're out there, at least at this point, to shine up the other team. And Lucha Brothers go over in this match for not having much of a crowd. The crowd adds so much to these things. I mean, I always think back to the Rock versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 18. I enjoyed the match, but the crowd made that match.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, even Lawler was like, I have never heard anything like this. And like, Lawler has seen and done just about everything.
Zen Phoenix was at WrestleMania 18.
So Zen Phoenix could probably speak to the loudness of the crowd from that match. But if you watch that, you could feel that come through the screen. So them wrestling in an empty arena or an arena with like only a handful of wrestlers, it's like, fuck, man. They did the best they could. They had a good, entertaining match for what it was, and Lucha Brothers go over.
Yep.
So
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and also the fact that Orange Cassidy was on commentary and didn't say a goddamn thing is just tremendous.
yeah, nice, man. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
I would have loved to have been there for that.
For Hogan
and The Rock at WrestleMania 18. Yes, I would have loved to have been there. And Toronto doesn't get the recognition it deserves as a great city. Ironically, the last time I was there, they were during a trash haul. Like there was a strike between the sanitation people, and there was like trash all over the ground. And I'm like, still not as shitty as New York.
Yeah. So after that, we had a fatal four-way match between Riho, Chris Statlander, Penelope Ford, and Hikaru Shida.
Sorry, Penelope Ford.
And there wasn't a specific stipulation like the winner of this match is going to go against Nyla Rose for a title match. But I mean, it seems pretty sure that whoever won this match was going to be in position to do that.
Yeah. And I love the fact that Chris Statlander is from some other like outer space type of thing that they booked her from. I forget exactly where she's from. I'll have to look into that, but they booked her from there. And of course, Riho, I don't think Riho has actually won a match since she dropped the title to that dude, Nyla Rose.
Yeah.
So she's just trying to make a name, just trying to rebound from all this stuff. Penelope Ford, who is also trying to make a name for herself in the women's division. She's been kind of like part of this love triangle between Kip Sabian and Joey Janela, and she's been doing a great job with that. And the fact that Kip Sabian was actually at ringside with her during that match. Yeah. Unfortunately for her, she ate the pinfall
because of Kip Sabian. The thing here, you had Shida go over and every woman had a chance to shine in this match, even if it was just for a short bit. But, Shida's a good hand, and, we've already had Statlander lose to Nyla Rose. Shida's already lost to Nyla Rose. Penelope Ford needs to be built up to be a thing. So I think this is the right outcome.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I mean, the perfect outcome would be Nyla Rose wouldn't be women's champion at all, but what do I know?
Right. All right, so then we had Jurassic Express going against the Butcher and the Blade. It's fun watching Jurassic Express perform. They're
Sorry, to go back to what Zen Phoenix was saying. Honestly, Zen Phoenix, I've been saying for a while that they really need to do a better job at building the women's division for AEW. Just not really sold on what they're doing. They made Riho the champion, and it was like they didn't really make much of a to-do about her being the first ever women's champion, and they really just kind of dropped the ball with everything that they've done with the women's division. They've done an awesome job with the tag team division. The main card, with like the Moxleys and the Omegas and the Cody Rhodes and the MJFs, they've done a great job with that. And it just seems like the women's division has taken such a back burner to the rest of the roster for AEW that this is their, now they have to really do something to set forth and build up and really make a strong women's division.
So one thing that I would criticize Dynamite for, especially with trying to build the women's division, you have not had what I would say a lot of character development outside of Dr. Britt Baker. You really haven't. They did a bit with Nyla Rose, but like they have not built them up. Well, you know what? If you have these empty arena matches, or if you're trying to get more character development, instead of putting people in the ring against each other, have vignettes.
Yeah.
Where like they talk about either their passion or what their idea is. Basically, not the same, but similar to what NXT did this week, except for NXT didn't have matches. NXT did a bunch of character development stuff. But I think if they took their time that they have for live TV and did something like that would be great. Maybe similar again to WWE. I don't want them to be WWE light. Don't get me like wrong with that. But if they take some select pay-per-view matches, put them on Dynamite, do some stuff where they have some vignettes where the people that have not had a chance to shine get a chance to shine and develop their character while having a couple of matches, I think would be a good way to go. So,
yeah. And I agree. Because if you think about it, at the end of the day, what really helps get some of these new people that nobody knows about over? It's the vignettes. And like for me, some of the ones that always stick out for me when it comes to like the vignettes are Alberto Del Rio when he was first coming to WWE, and I hated those vignettes.
What about Razor Ramon, man?
I hated the Del Rio vignette so much because I'm like, this guy's not going to make it. And then they just gave me what he was, and I'm like, this is the fucking greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. The same thing with Sid when Sid Vicious came back as Psycho Sid. Those vignettes were fucking awesome. I love those vignettes.
Remember when The Undertaker came back?
Yeah.
When I forget if it was the Triple H feud. I think it was the Triple H feud.
Where he was in the shack and the door just kind of opened. And it was the first time he fought Triple H.
But like, I was at I think it was Raw. I was at the Raw taping where they first showed that vignette, and everybody's like, "Shit, is Sting coming?"
Yeah.
Everybody was like, "Who the hell is this?" And then slowly but surely, you found out more and more, and it was The Undertaker. Yeah. Ain't no grave that could hold my dead body down. And that was a great piece of character building while not having somebody on TV.
Kind of like what they did with ECW when it was ECWWE all those years ago when they were the developmental brand with CM Punk. They basically he was like, "Hi, my name is CM Punk. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. Competition is my addiction." And he just let him talk and let him tell people about himself. And look at the fucking following that CM Punk had. All these years later, people are still fucking chanting for CM Punk because he let his wrestling do his talking. But that's the way you're supposed to do it. That's how you build up characters. Not this fucking bullshit where you're just like, I mean, the only ones that they've actually done right in AEW when it comes to character development is the fucking Dark Order. They keep coming up with these vignettes each and every week, and I'm like, oh my God, I kind of want to see what they're going to do with the Exalted One. Who the fuck is it going to be? I mean, I love, they're one of my favorite tag teams. I love Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. I just told Corey the other day, and I keep telling Corey a lot. I'm like, if him and I were a tag team in professional wrestling, we'd be the fucking Dark Order. Because, Stu Grayson looks kind of like me, and Corey looks like Evil Uno with long hair. But it's just, it really is, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, it's all about presentation. I mean, look at what they tried to do with Kazarni. They had all these great vignettes for Kazarni, then he turned out to be a blowhard.
He lasted 2 weeks.
I mean, think about, remember when they were bringing back Chris Jericho, and it was like, did you break the code and everything like that? People were fully vested in that shit. That's where I will give WWE the edge over freaking AEW, because with WWE, they're really good at doing these vignettes and building people up through vignettes.
Well, when they brought back Brock Lesnar for the first time, when he did not have, or when they brought him back, he didn't have Heyman with him.
No, you're right.
So he didn't have a mouthpiece. But they did these interviews with him behind the scenes, and I remember specifically he talked about basically John Cena peeing himself because he was scared to get in the ring with Brock Lesnar.
It was like when they were building up for WrestleMania
But that
29.
built his character and reminded people of what he was and who he was.
It was like when they were doing the build-up for WrestleMania 29. It looked like Triple H actually pissed himself.
Right. But the things, AEW should take advantage of the time that they have to build the women's division, build the characters of the women's division, because they're not going to be chock full of show. I mean, one thing with this last weekend show was when the Inner Circle went against the Elite. I mean, it's great they had a 30-minute match, but they could have shortened it to 20 or 25 and had a couple of these vignettes. Now, mind you, they might not have had time to put something like that together yet, but I mean, use your time wisely and effectively, fellas.
But my whole thing is, and it's like, you look at the women in the women's division. It's like, look at Britt Baker. What do we know about Britt Baker? She's a dentist, and she's fucking
a bitch.
No, not that part. She's fucking Adam Cole, baby. That's all we really know about Britt Baker, and that she's from Pittsburgh, and that she makes fun of Tony Schiavone for being a Starbucks barista. That's all we really know about Britt Baker.
Wait. That's part of character building. The fact that she's a bitch who sits there and makes fun of a guy because he was putting food on the table because of his family, that's character building.
Right. All right, so let's play this game for a little bit, all right? Let's just play this game for a little bit. All right, let's find out another woman in the women's division. What do we know about Riho?
Well, we already went through this. They haven't built anybody up. We know nothing about anybody besides Britt Baker and a little bit about Nyla Rose. And we found out that Big Swole is married to... And we found out that Big Swole is married to a wrestler.
Yeah, no, she was dating a wrestler, and then she had to bring it up that I'm actually married, baby. And I was the one that found out she's married to Cedric Alexander. It's just... We know about...
No, they specifically mentioned that it was a wrestler that Britt Baker said, "You're dating a wrestler." No. I'm married to
a baby. Yeah. And then I was like, hey, she's married to Cedric Alexander. The man who has basically been forgotten on Monday Night Raw, but that's pretty much everybody who's not 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that.
That is 100% true. The Kane buildup was one of the greatest ever. They built that character before Kane even debuted.
It was the thing that's going around on social media. It was like a tweet, and it was like, what was one thing that you believed as a kid that you can't believe that you believe now as an adult? And somebody was like, that Kane and The Undertaker were actually brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, that was tremendous character build-up. Same thing with Mick Foley when he came out as Mankind.
Yeah.
They did a great job with that.
Vignettes. You use your time, AEW. Moving along.
In the words of one of your new managers, trust me. Jake the Snake, never mind.
Jake the Snake came out and said some stuff this week, and it's like going, he is one of the greatest minds in wrestling, but it's like, dude, you're still stuck in the fucking 80s, dude. Because he came out, and for whatever reason, he absolutely torched Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. for saying that they didn't draw and that when you saw them in the ring, like them going against a 500-pound dude just didn't make any sense. Do you think they could beat Andre the Giant? Which reminds me of around the time when Jake the Snake was a big deal in WWF. Who was champion? Macho Man Randy Savage. Who did he feud against? Andre the Giant. I know Macho Man's bigger than what Shawn Michaels was, and a smidge, maybe a smidge bigger than Bret Hart. You don't hear Jake the Snake going nuts about the Macho Man going against Andre the Giant, but he goes out there and goes crazy about how, well, they didn't draw any money. I'm sorry, but wrestling was going through a decline, and that was because Hulk Hogan and steroids.
Yep.
So wrestling was in the shitter. I would put more of them not, quote unquote, drawing money there on that. Because 96, 97, if it weren't for Bret Hart, would Stone Cold Steve Austin have gotten over like he did? Bret Hart had credibility with the damn audience.
Yep.
If he didn't have credibility with the audience, then Stone Cold would not have gotten any rub from that match at all.
Yep.
It would have meant nothing. And when you have Shawn Michaels, yes, he's not the biggest dude in the world, and he did a lot of things that were dickish back in the day. But, you know, Jake did say, hey, he worked his ass off, but I can't see the credibility in a 215-pound guy.
Who did Shawn Michaels put over at WrestleMania 14?
He put over Stone Cold Steve Austin.
So without Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels, for that matter, Stone Cold Steve Austin would not have become a GOAT, in my opinion. He needed both of them because if it wasn't for the feud that he had with Bret, if it wasn't for the fact that he tossed out Bret Hart at the 97 Royal Rumble the way he did, which later built up for them having their match that ultimately happened at WrestleMania 13, where Steve Austin was in the sharpshooter, blood pouring out of his face and passed out, and the referee called for the match where they did the double switch that night, which then led to Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels the following year in the main event. And it's like, you know, you say that about these guys, and here to help to prove that Jake the Snake is full of shit. Riddle me this, Batman. During the mid-90s, around after Hulk Hogan left, one of the people who held the championship, obviously Bret Hart held the title right around when The Undertaker, I'll be all right.
He held it for a little bit when Hogan was still there.
And he held it a little bit more once Hogan left. But who was champion in the mid-90s? A big guy that was a champion.
Big Daddy Cool.
Kevin Nash, who was 7 feet tall, well over 300 pounds, was world heavyweight champion. And I always think of it as Kevin Nash was world heavyweight champion and didn't even main event the WrestleMania he was WWF champion in a match against a guy who entered as #1 in the Royal Rumble and went the whole fucking distance and won the whole goddamn thing. And they didn't main event WrestleMania. Instead, it was Bam Bam Bigelow versus the greatest football player to ever live, Lawrence Taylor.
What's up, Tommy? Thanks for tuning in, man.
But it's like, you can't just say that because Bret and Shawn were small is the reason why they weren't big draws, because you had Kevin Nash and he wasn't a big draw.
And so he said the title made them. It's like they needed the title to make themselves, but they didn't draw money.
Did Jake the Snake ever watch the Bret Hart versus Tommy McGee? Is that Tommy McGee, right?
Yeah, I believe Tommy McGee. Well, I mean, Vince McMahon was ready to make that dude the new Hulk Hogan because he was like...
Tom McGee, yep, that was.
He was like, oh my God, they don't know this guy, and like this crowd is completely eating him up, eating everything this guy does up, and it's like, well, it was Bret Hart.
It was Bret Hart. Bret Hart could, like I said...
If you want to talk about Bret Hart not drawing, what was the main event of SummerSlam 92, and how many people were in that crowd, and how loud was that crowd, and what was the fucking match of the year? Bret Hart versus Davey Boy Smith, Wembley Stadium, 80,000 people.
WrestleMania,
not drawing anything.
WrestleMania 10, what are the two matches that get brought up the most? Bret versus Owen, and Shawn Michaels versus
Razor
Scott
Ramon
Hall for the Intercontinental title in what people say is the greatest ladder match that ever happened.
So now having great matches and being a draw are different, because the draw of WrestleMania 3 was Hogan versus the Giant. And the match of the night was Steamboat versus Savage. Now, they had a good storyline going in, but in general,
he didn't need a title.
Yeah, man, Jake didn't need a title, but Vince McMahon didn't trust him with a title.
Yeah.
Because he had a drug problem. So, but, in general, the thing with Jake, it's like stuck in the 80s mentality of you need to be a big guy to win. I mean, Shawn Michaels is drastically outsized by The Undertaker, but the Bad Blood match where Kane debuted is perhaps the greatest Hell in the Cell match of all time, because if it didn't work, we would have never saw the Cell ever again.
We never would have gotten Mankind or Mick Foley almost dying in the match.
But I'm just specifically talking to this. And we had one of the greatest WrestleMania matches, if not the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, between HBK and Undertaker. And again, guess what? That drew part of the gate. I know in general WrestleMania will just sell out, but the thing people were hyped for that WrestleMania was Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. And again, the next year. So don't tell me they didn't fucking draw.
And the year before that, who ended Ric Flair's WWE career?
It was Shawn Michaels. And guess what? That was a fucking draw, and it was one of the few good matches that night.
What man invented SummerSlam 2005?
The Hulkster brother going against Shawn Michaels' brother.
Don't tell me Shawn Michaels is not a draw. Big C is the biggest Shawn Michaels hater I will ever come across, and you will ever come across, or anybody will ever come across. And even he will tell you that Shawn Michaels was a draw.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they called Shawn Michaels Mr. WrestleMania. It wasn't just because of the fact that he just wrestled at WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels was a draw at the end of the day. He might have been a piece of shit and a backstabber and a lot of other things, but at the end of the day, Shawn Michaels is still a draw. And you give me any wrestler of any era, and I'm fighting them at WrestleMania, my first pick is going to be Shawn Michaels. Sorry.
Yeah. Brett, the answer to your question, no, we have not eaten the Bootios. None of the Bootios. I think I'd like to try it.
We've had that box for like over 3 years now. It's going to be 4 years in like August.
So, hey, good times. So, all right. So, circling all the way back to AEW Dynamite here, Jurassic Express beats the Butcher and the Blade. I enjoy the Butcher and the Blade. Jurassic Express, though, they've been on the losing end of a lot. So, and they are a team that they have built up with some character stuff. Usually most of the character building with them has been through matches.
Yeah.
Where like the Jungle Boy Jack Perry sitting there fighting on, despite the insurmountable odds of going against basically the entire inner circle and going against the champion who's much bigger than he is. So you've got things like that. You got the Luchasaurus, who is like the unstoppable, like literal monster. So, but I enjoy the team. Marco Stunt, all the little things they do.
All the little things, Marco Stunt. Last week was my episode for jokes. This is your week for jokes.
So anyway, Jurassic Express finally gets a W, and they beat the Butcher and the Blade. So good for them. Then after that, we had the Exalted One revealed. We've talked about this. Brody Lee revealed as the Exalted One. I hope he knocks this out of the park, but as we were discussing before, I don't think his name is big enough to put him in this spot, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I end up wrong. So,
only time will tell, though. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with this going forward. I know a lot of people, another gripe that a lot of people have with AEW is that they have way too many staples.
Well, it's something I've brought up the last couple of weeks, and we'll see how it all irons out. I think they're kind of sitting there trying to like which stable is going to get over, and then all the other ones will sit there and disintegrate.
Yeah.
I hope that's what they're doing.
Well, I mean, honest to goodness, I mean, I don't even see SCU as a stable. They're just like a supersized tag team because it's the three of them, and they've been the three of them for a while as a tag team. And
Well, would you consider the Freebirds a stable?
No, they're a tag team.
Because there were 3, sometimes 4 of them.
I look at it like, for me, when I think of the Freebirds,
like World Class Championship Wrestling, like it was Terry Bam Bam Gordy, Michael P.S. Hayes, and Buddy Rogers.
yes. And then once they moved to NWA,
And they were loosely affiliated with Jimmy Jam.
Jimmy Jam Garvin, who then eventually became
A full-fledged member.
full-fledged member of the Freebirds. And if you ask Michael Hayes, he probably doesn't remember because he was so coked out, he had no idea what the hell was going on.
Even at Clash 13.
In that Clash 13.
Yeah.
I am still, and I told you this last night, I am still amazed that man is still alive and coherent. And he's not walking around here like Ozzy Osbourne. I really am.
Yeah. All right, so we ended up having, for the main event of AEW, what ended up being a 30-minute 6-man tag match, and this was supposed to determine who was going to have the advantage for the blood and guts match.
Yep.
And no shock here where you had the inner circle go over, because that's in general how they like to book matches like that, where the heels have the advantage and get the double team people, but for what it was, it was an enjoyable match. Maybe a little bit long, but it was fine. It did what it was supposed to do,
Yep.
And now it's been undone because of the coronavirus. So what can we do?
The coronavirus is like the internet; it's still undefeated.
And then at the end of this, we got the official debut of the Broken One, Matt Hardy, with Vanguard 1. And Matt Hardy discussed how, like, hey, if there was an arena full of people, I wouldn't have been able to have Vanguard 1. We would have had the debut differently, but
Right.
it was interesting. So that was AEW Dynamite this week. And apparently my phone has just tismed.
Oh boy.
Hate when that happens.
So do I.
Well, anyway,
Well,
keep going.
so I mean, what are we going to get into? We have to get into Monday Night Raw. A lot of people were talking about Raw because of the fact that the one thing people were talking about was the fact that the Undertaker kind of broke kayfabe on Raw this week, and it looks like they're going to be building towards, as El Jefe has been praying and lighting candles and doing whatever he has to do, turned in like 13 consecutive birthday wishes to for us to get quote unquote the Fag Taker back, Biker Taker, the American Badass. It looks like they might be leaning towards that Undertaker coming out at WrestleMania this year. Like you said, with the whole contract signing they were supposed to have, and AJ Styles didn't even come out for it, and it just led to the Undertaker beating down on
Gallows and Anderson.
And these guys, I mean, Jesus Christ, is there any tag team that's been booked more poorly than Gallows and Anderson? It's just it's insane. Like, I mean, Vince McMahon had them as the tag team champions and then fed them to the big dog, and he beat them in a 2-on-1 handicap match. I mean, Undertaker made them look like a couple of jabronis during the Aleister Black AJ Styles match from, I want to say it was Elimination Chamber. But it's just it's interesting what they're doing and how they're building more so towards WrestleMania and empty arenas.
I think just based off of how my phone's going, we definitely need to crank through the rest of this. But my phone is doing crazy things. So
luckily, there's not a lot of wrestling on Raw or SmackDown this week.
All right, so let's not futz around and let's
rip through it.
All right. So we had Edge officially challenge Randy Orton for a last man standing match at WrestleMania. So I thought it was a good promo, and I enjoyed the segment because Edge is still a GOAT.
Yes, agreed. would have been cool to be in presence for his return to WrestleMania, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think I'm surprised they're actually going this route. I figured they would have went a little bit more safer because of the fact that Edge had the neck injuries and surgeries and all that stuff. I figured they would have went with a regular wrestling match, but I mean, Edge and Orton are going to deliver.
All right. So then we had Rey Mysterio beat the U.S. champion Andrade in a non-title match. I love this. This is great fucking booking. This is the greatest thing that's ever fucking happened because, having the champion lose in a non-title match does not happen enough. We need more of that on TV to make our champions look like fucking bigger losers.
Starting to pick up on your sarcasm. I would sure hope so. I'm laying it on pretty thick. Anybody? Movie? Anybody?
Bueller?
No.
Bueller?
Tommy Boy.
Bueller?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was that. And then we had Kevin Owens. He actually cut a great promo setting up his match with Seth Rollins for WrestleMania. Kind of talking about, hey, we wrestled all over the freaking world. And, for WWE, we began FCW and NXT. We should do it in the Performance Center, go back to where it all began. So I kind of dug this sell for it. And Kevin Owens, when the dude's on, is incredible. And I thought he was really good here.
And he likes cupcakes.
He does like cupcakes.
I'm not going to say anything about Kevin Owens except for that, so keep going.
All right, and then to end Monday Night Raw on Steve Austin night, 316.
What?
Stone Cold comes out to drink a beer.
What?
Drink a beer.
What?
And drink another beer.
What?
He was getting thrown beers by one Becky Lynch. And then Byron Saxton joined in, giving Stone Cold a hell yeah, and drinking a beer with Stone Cold. And we all knew what was going to happen, but it's exactly what needed to happen. Byron Saxton and Stone Cold Stunner. And the announce team ended up cheering for it. They thought it was the greatest thing. So I enjoyed this for what it was. It was not the greatest segment. Stone Cold is much better when he has a large crowd with him.
Yep.
So, but this was fun. But that putting Becky Lynch with him, that's a good thing to give a rub to your champion, to one of your big stars. So good on her. And good on that. So wish it was more exciting and we could get more into it, but that's about it, man. So yes. All right. So then on SmackDown, right off the top of the show, they officially Gronk was announced and brought out to be the host for WrestleMania, only to be interrupted by King Corbin. Mojo Rawley's in the ring there with Gronk, talking about he's his best friend, and Corbin comes to the ring, ends up getting in his face, ends up getting shoved down by Gronk, and Elias comes out and sings a song, and I don't know, it felt like they were throwing a lot of things in the blender here, where it's like, Mojo Rawley, what the hell's he been doing? Like, I know he did the thing for the 24/7 title, but like, who knows? Who knows? But it was a bit of a garbled mess. But like the Gronk was fine in this, and Corbin, looking like an idiot. That's fine. That's what he needs to be for this. But I mean, it's going to end up Elias and Corbin. I have misgivings about like how this is going. But, yeah.
I thought it was a good way for them to introduce Gronk to the WWE universe as an actual WWE employee. It is what it has to be. Obviously, that's the reason why Mojo Rawley is getting some TV time, because of the fact that he is friends with Rob Gronkowski. It's only going to be a matter of time before the what does Jeff refer to them as? Meet something.
I don't know. Whatever.
But it's only gonna be a matter of time before those two are the tag team champions of either Raw or SmackDown. It's just a matter of time.
So, all right. So then we had an outstanding match with Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak going against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. I mean, even without an arena full of people, the arena full of people would have helped this out immensely. But these four could go like no one's business, but they did an amazing job here.
I think it does look like they're going to start building towards that's going to be what the Intercontinental title is going to be. Those 5 guys that were in, those 4 guys and Sami Zayn in that match. If they could somehow, some way find a way to throw Sheamus in there so he wins the title. Just because him winning the Intercontinental title and being supreme, ultimate Grand Slam champion of WWE, and I'm not there, I will probably cry.
Right. Okay, so interesting and, I don't know, mind-boggling at the same time for me. We had Paige via Skype announcing she was supposed to confront Bayley.
It's a good point by Tommy, by the way. We got to get to after this.
We should get into it now because we were talking about Bryan. All right, so Daniel Bryan came out in an interview and spoke about how, hey, he's been a full-time wrestler. He still loves wrestling. He still enjoys wrestling. But kid number 2 is on the way, and he needs to spend time at home. And he basically said when his current deal is up, which he said it will be done shortly, he will no longer be a full-time performer.
Yeah, they're going to, whatever the hell he wants, they're going to give him. There's no fucking way. The guy's still, for whatever reason, surprisingly enough, the guy's still on the right side of 40. I still think he has another 3-4 years left in him, especially if they give him like a
if they give him the deal he wants, he could last another 10 years if he wants to.
Right.
Similar to Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels near the end was just showing up for SmackDown and pay-per-views.
Basically, and I think that's what AJ Styles has, except I think AJ might have a couple more house shows here and there.
I think AJ has 100 dates a year.
Yeah. If they give Daniel Bryan something like that, I think he would be on board with that. So we have that with Daniel Bryan. And good for him because, he's earned it. And a lot of people, and he had said before, he was like, he goes, if I had actually not stopped wrestling when I did, he goes, my contract would have expired already, and I probably would have stopped being a full-time wrestler by now. So you guys are actually getting me the way that you're getting me now. So just be happy about that. It's going to be interesting because he did say he was going to take some paternity leave once child number 2 comes around. So
WWE is giving him 6 weeks. So,
yeah.
All right. So moving on to the Paige announcement. So she was supposed to confront Bayley, and a lot of people were speculating with the fact that Edge came back that possibly Paige was going to be wrestling in a match. But no, we get Paige via Skype saying that Bayley is going to be in a 6-woman match for the SmackDown Championship at Wrestlemania, where it's going to be Lacey Evans, Dana Brooke, Tamina Snuka, Naomi, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. How does Paige have the right to make this match? That was the first thing that crossed my mind. I realized that WWE just signed Paige to a new contract and you want to use her, but she is not an authority figure in any way. How does she get to make this match?
Why is Tamina Snuka in this match?
Whatever. To me, how does Paige have any authority to make any sort of match? Was the power invested in her by the state of Vincent Kennedy McMahon? They didn't mention anything about this. She just made the match. I'm going to be in the match too. I'm just going to announce it. I'm in the match.
You being in the match is no different than Nyla Rose being in the match.
Her when Eric Young was the tag team champion with ODB.
Yeah.
So, Fox gave her the permission to make the match.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, obviously, if Fox is paying $500 million a year for freaking SmackDown, she can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Well, then that's fine. I want my match with King Kong Bundy.
Yeah.
He's
sad.
But my biggest gripe was, I don't even care about that. My biggest gripe is, why the fuck is Tamina in this match?
They needed 6 women.
Where's Carmella?
apparently they have other plans for her. Maybe she's sick and we don't know it. I don't know. Who knows?
Fair enough.
We had Miz and Morrison do a thing for the dirt sheet, which was a bit of fun. Then we had Miz and Morrison then have a match against Heavy Machinery. And honestly, I thought that they booked this pretty damn perfectly as far as continuing to build the character of Otis Dosovich and continuing to reestablish the Miz and Morrison for like being smart asses and doing their thing. So I thought the part where Dolph Ziggler ends up having them put the pictures of he with Mandy Rose up on the Titantron, where that made Dozer lose his freaking mind and just destroy everything in existence, including taking a chair and getting his team disqualified by hitting the tag team champions.
AKA smart WWE booking.
Yes. So you get to see the crazy side of the Dozer continually come out now.
I fucking love it.
So good stuff.
He's still officially the one half of the official tag teams of the FMRs podcast. I'd have mine on, but I have outgrown it rather quickly.
So main event of the evening was Roman Reigns and Goldberg contract signing. This needed a crowd. Literally, this went flatter than an 89-year-old's dick. You like that?
No,
you like that?
No, that was terrible.
Yeah.
You could have said like the thing was flatter than Jessamine Duke. And that would have actually hit better.
So, Brett saying we have a lag in our live feed. I've had there's been a whole bunch of little technical issues going on. So we're doing the best we can. Hopefully we'll have more things figured out next week.
Yes.
All right. So, it was an all right stare down, but like, Reigns looked more like the star here. But, I hope that we end up getting a good match out of them. But again, like, it's so weird seeing these matches without crowds, and they add so much to it. So, speaking of WrestleMania and speaking of these things, they have not listed off every match, but they started listing off which matches will be on which nights for WrestleMania now that they've split it up between 2 days, and it's going to be multiple locations.
But the one constant thing is that Rob Gronkowski is officially the host of WrestleMania 36.
I mean, honestly, this feels a little bit like WrestleMania 2, where they had 3 different sites where they ended up having WrestleMania, where it was at the Nassau Coliseum, it was in Chicago, Illinois, and it was in Los Angeles, where like...
Which is funny that you bring up WrestleMania 2. That was the one that was at multiple arenas and everything like that. Because what was part of that match? What was part of that WrestleMania? That was one of the marquee matches that not a lot of people talk about.
Well, there were many matches that went there. George the Animal Steele versus the Macho Man. You had the boxing match between Roddy Piper and Mr. T. You had the Hulk Hogan King Kong Bundy match.
The steel cage.
Yep. You had the Battle Royal with the football players.
Is where I was going to go with that. Because who won that Battle Royal? Because those matches were designed for one man in particular.
The GOAT.
Andre the Giant. And this one's for you, Jake the Snake. Who was the last person Andre the Giant eliminated in the Battle Royal?
I honestly don't remember.
Bret the Hitman Hart.
All right.
Because it was a 2-on-1 disadvantage because the Hart Foundation with him and Jim Neidhart were the last 2 in the ring with Andre.
Yeah, and they tried to get him.
And they tried to double team him, and he threw out Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and then he picked up Bret and tossed Bret on top of the anvil, and that's how he got eliminated.
Yeah.
But it was kind of surreal seeing like Andre and Bret standing next to each other, because I'm built bigger than Bret Hart.
Bret was like 245 pounds, man. He was a big dude. And speaking of Andre the Giant in Battle Royals, 2 matches that have been taken out of WrestleMania is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and the Women's Battle Royal match.
Well, that explains why the 6 women are in the six-pack challenge for the women's title. But why did they get eliminated the Andre Battle Royal? That was one of my favorite matches at WrestleMania.
Because you can't have 10 people in the ring.
That makes sense. Okay. God damn it. Fuck you, coronavirus. You're ruining everything.
So, so that's what we've got with the 2-day WrestleMania. And somebody was mentioning like it's going to be pre-taped, not live. And I understand completely where they're coming from with pre-taping it, because if somebody, again, gets the coronavirus in WWE in the next couple of weeks, they will completely shut it down. Heck, they might even completely shut down the country where people can't get out except for like emergency personnel. And I would imagine people going out for groceries will probably need to go out for groceries because we're not going to have groceries for several weeks or months. So
Tommy's already out of work.
So we'll see where it all lands, I guess. I'm one of the people that actually, I have a note that tells me that I can be out no matter what for the next 2 months, but not too many people have that.
Yeah, but you can also work from home.
But if I need to be out, I have a note that says I am allowed to be out.
Okay.
All right. So as far as WrestleMania goes, so for the April 4th matches, right now the card is Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, Undertaker and AJ Styles, Rhea Ripley against Charlotte Flair, and Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre. So I think Brock and Drew are going to be the top of the card, even though I wouldn't be against Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair being the top of the card for this. Honestly, they've done a great build-up that's basically started since before Survivor Series. So, you know what, Andy, you're probably right. Vince has always had the virus, and there goes Facebook again.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's just plow through the rest of this. All right, so then there's only 3 matches right now scheduled for April 5th, which is Cena versus The Fiend, Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler, and Goldberg versus Reigns.
So they haven't decided where they're going to put Edge and Orton yet.
They have not. Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that they were going to put
and that's something we brought up before, Tommy, about Brock being stuck in Canada.
I was reading about that before we went live too.
So.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do everything, just going forward, because Trudeau and Trump are actually talking about closing the borders and everything, and it's going to be interesting to see how the next few weeks kind of shake up. I really wish that Donald Trump would just shut the whole fucking country down at this point, and it doesn't really matter to me because I'm still, for whatever reason, I'm actually considered an essential employee. So.
But if he shuts the country down, you're not going to be essential anymore. You have to stay home if he shuts the country down.
Yeah. True. So that's why I'm saying he has to shut the country down, because I've been deemed essential. So, but I think that's it's going to be interesting. Is Amy is considered essential? His wife.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the card is shaping up for WrestleMania. Like I said, Edge and Orton is one of the matches that has a big name attached to it that hasn't been attached to a date for this weekend of WrestleMania, I should say.
The 6-woman match also has not gotten.
But that kind of just put together last night, and I'm pretty sure that the card was getting put together.
Yes, I know, but I'm just saying
that's
that
the other one. Yeah.
It doesn't have a night yet.
I work on the naval base. So basically, I am a material handler on the Navy base, and if they need any kind of materials, for whatever reason, I'm quote unquote the guy, or one of the guys.
You're that guy.
I am that guy. So that's why I'm considered essential. So anyway, so good, bad, and brainless.
Yeah, we could do our good, bad, and brainless.
All right. So what was your good for this week?
I'm going with the Miz and Morrison heavy machinery stuff, the Dozer stuff, that segment, good character building stuff that will, I think, pay off in the long run for him. I don't know if I ever see him as a main event player, as a solo guy, but I could see them, doing well in the tag team division for a long time. I'm not going to say the same length as New Day, but they could be something for a while if they keep this up.
Agreed.
So I dug this.
I would love to have picked that for my good. Also, Gronk debuting would have been my good, but my good for this week goes to MJF. MJF, who was basically dealt a plate of shit and turned it into a supreme casserole of entertainment. As they did the entire AEW show in an empty arena, they had the heels and the faces sitting on opposite ends of the arena, and MJF, who was not wrestling or booked for the entire card, sat on the heel side and was very vocal about everything, heckling the good guys in their matches. Him and Shawn Spears were putting money on match outcomes and everything like that. He was very loud. He was very out there. And the fact is that MJF made a name for himself in a situation where he wasn't even going to be in any way, shape, or form a part of. So I'm going to give him the fact that he had nothing and turned it into something.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So bad. My bad for this week. It was like, they hyped up this Bailey and Paige confrontation, and I understand the restrictions and you can't have them face to face and what have you, but like Paige being the person to announce a match for WrestleMania because Fox told her it was okay for her to do it.
Mhm.
Weird.
That's pretty.
No, I didn't like this. I didn't get this. But whatever.
Yeah, that's a pretty good bad. For me, my bad this week is going to go to Becky Lynch being a part of the whole Stone Cold Steve Austin beer situation. I'm sorry, Becky doesn't need it anymore. Okay, Becky is at the top of the list.
I'm sorry. Is she as big of a star as Stone Cold Steve Austin?
There's not too many people who are as big a stars as Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Then she still needs it.
I think that
They sold out arenas for years. They are not doing that now. Obviously they're not doing it now, but you need to develop a star as big as Stone Cold Steve Austin to sell out arenas. You don't get the rub for Becky Lynch unless you have her in there with somebody that is higher than her.
I just think that the thing is that I'm tired of it being Becky. I really am tired of it being Becky. She was great when she was the underdog and everybody was rooting for her and everything. And then she came out with this man gimmick and now she's just a total bitch. And I cannot wait for her to drop the belt to Shayna Baszler at WrestleMania, so she could go away for a couple months, so I could actually be like, I kind of miss Becky Lynch. Because right now, I'm getting tired of freaking Becky Lynch. And I really don't want to see her succeed right now, just like everybody was sick of Seth Rollins for the same fucking reason. And then he became the Messiah. Now everybody loves Seth Rollins again. I just didn't think that she needed it. She already had the fucking segment a few months ago with The Rock. Now you're sticking her in the ring with Steve Austin, and it's like she's Becky Lynch. She's not The Rock. She's not Austin.
But they want her to be that.
I understand that, but it's like.
But how is that bad that they're putting her in the ring with them?
This was my bad. It's like this is what I think is bad, and I'm just tired of them doing this whole thing with Becky Lynch and how she's the one that's getting these opportunities when it's like.
Who would you like them to put The Rock in the ring with, or Stone Cold then?
Honestly, Elias. Make him the next big star in WWE.
That was something I pushed for last year at WrestleMania, for them to not have a match, but to
the concert was
to have a concert off.
True or false? That fucking concert was awesome.
It was
last year.
Oh, it was great.
He was the unsung hero of WrestleMania 35 last year. It would have been cool to see that shit live. And I give that guy a lot of credit. The man is fucking extremely talented. He was the guy that nobody really thought of anything when he was in NXT. He goes to the main roster, kind of just drifts around for a bit, and then
you got jokes now.
I do have jokes, but I think that Elias could be one of those guys that if they build him up correctly, he could be that next guy that could be in that echelon because he's got charisma. He's multi-talented. He's not terrible in the ring. And hell, John Cena wasn't great in the ring, and neither was Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan is considered like the biggest star in wrestling history over guys like Ric Flair who could actually wrestle. You could do something like that with Elias.
Okay.
Anybody but honestly, just anybody but like Becky Lynch or Charlotte or Roman Reigns, and I'm okay with it. You have other people.
You do realize that we're going to get The Rock and Roman Reigns, right?
Yes, I do. At WrestleMania 37, and The Miz is going to quit. I know. I'm already prepared for that.
So anyway,
hell, we could have had Steve Austin in the Dozer.
I could see them drinking some beer. What?
And eating some steaks.
What?
But that's the reason why it was my bad, because I personally, for me,
Steaks and weight.
I'm just tired of Becky Lynch being the one in this. It's like, and in like 2-3 months, she's still champion. It's gonna be her and Hulk Hogan, and it's gonna be like, and everybody's going, ooh. I'm kind of just drinking the Kool-Aid of all the people, of all the freaking of the neckbeards, as people refer to them as the guys who, as Sean O so eloquently refers to as the shitbags of professional wrestling fans.
Yeah.
But that's my bad.
All right.
Brainless. I got a good brainless too.
I hate going back to this well, but I'm going to.
I already know where you're going.
Why, oh why does Andrade need to lose? Why? You make your secondary titles not only feel secondary, but you make the title holder seem inferior and seem like a piece of garbage. The title doesn't do anything to elevate them in any way. The only thing that they do to try to elevate those champions is bring back the fact that, oh, that Stone Cold Steve Austin was the U.S. champion and Ric Flair was the U.S. champion. And it's like going, but that's when they were like U.S. champions like decades ago. Tell me about the recent U.S. champions that had gone on to be a major thing. I mean, are they going to bring up John Moxley at this point? No. Name another U.S. champion in recent memory that went on to great things. There's like none of them. Even intercontinental champions. Cena had the U.S. title and did the U.S. Open Challenge, but he was like the world champion.
Rollins
he brought back the
U.S. to prevalence.
Yeah.
Rollins won both titles at the same time. Roman Reigns won the United States Championship, but that was just so that he could be a Grand Slam champion, I'm convinced. AJ Styles really is the only one other than the Cena.
Now
because he won.
Correct me if I'm wrong with some of these ones though, but was this on their way up?
No,
because with Cena it was quote unquote on his way down. Rollins was double champion.
He was double champion, like he was WWE champion, and then won the U.S. title to do his thing. Roman Reigns just kind of won the U.S. title. I don't remember it. His U.S. title reign was about as forgettable as freaking Kazari's entire.
Well, his one was one of the ones that caused me to tism.
Yeah,
because he lost the title, lost the rematch for the title, and then somehow ended up going into the Elimination Chamber.
That was Intercontinental because he lost the Intercontinental title to The Miz.
Okay. Either way.
But, yeah, again, just to prove your point that the U.S. title is not important.
And it disproves a bit of what Jake the Snake Roberts was saying this week, where it's like the title making the person. Well, in this case, you put the title on a person, but you keep on having them fucking lose. They're not going to get over. You sit there and you have them lose constantly, so you could, well, this person beat them in a non-title match. Now they have to have a title match. Maybe they should have rankings for somebody going for the U.S. title.
Yeah.
Have rankings for people going for the world title. Have rankings for people going for the Intercontinental title, so you're not like, all right, who the fuck's next in line? If you sit there and you have all the Latino wrestlers basically going for the U.S. title right now, and it's like going, well, in what order? You had Humberto Del Rio lose twice to the U.S. champion, so he shouldn't even be in the mix at this point, in my view. But I hate how much they have titles that aren't the Universal title or the heavyweight title or even the Raw Women's title. They don't lose. But you've had Bayley lose several times. You've had tag champions lose several times. You've had Intercontinental and US lose several times. Even the North American title, they'll have that champion lose non-title matches. I hate it.
Yep, I agree. Now, I just wanted you to know, I really wanted to go with Jake the Snake and his comments about Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and just sounding like the crotchety old man stuck in the 80s like James E. Cornette. But for me, my brain list this week goes to Vincent Kennedy McMahon. The WWE did not cancel WrestleMania. They still haven't canceled WrestleMania. Anything's still possible, as Kevin Garnett once said back in 2008. But with the fact that the coronavirus coming in here and basically almost canceling the NBA season and the NHL season, it canceled the NCAA tournament, which cost the NCAA close to $1 billion for them not having the NCAA tournament this year. Major League Baseball is going to lose a lot of money because they're not going to be able. There's no way the fucking baseball is going to 162 games this year.
They'll be lucky. I think they even get 80.
They will be lucky to get 80 in there. And they canceled the XFL. Formula One races are going. NASCAR is not going. The Masters got postponed to whenever. The Kentucky Derby is getting raced in September.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. And the fact is that Vince McMahon and the fact that he loves his wallet and his money and all that stuff more than anything else, has not canceled WrestleMania or postponed it. So now we're going to get it in a freaking empty arena. It's going to be in like 37 different fucking arenas all over the fucking country and everything like that.
I hope it ends up in our backyard.
I hope it ends up at the Scope because somehow I'm going to try to sneak in there and try to have a WrestleMania moment myself where I beat fucking Riddick Moss from 24/7 title. And then I'm like, I'm under quarantine. You can't come to my house for 14 days. So I can be like the 5th longest reigning 24/7 champion of all time. But Vince, your freaking stupidity and your ego got too big for you, and now the coronavirus is coming in there and it's causing bigger issues, and you should have just canceled it because not only the fact that there's a possibility that you can have people that wrestle for your company being stuck in Canada and not being able to get here, but the fact is that more than half of the roster is pissed off because of the fact that WrestleMania is still going to go on because, like you said, all it takes is for one person to catch that virus and WWE gets completely shut down. It doesn't matter if it's fucking Roman Reigns or if it's freaking the Grand Metalik. All it takes is one. And then you're going to be really fucked. So that's why Vince McMahon is getting my brain list for this week.
All right. Boom.
So I think we've touched base on everything.
We have touched base on everything.
If you like what you've seen, whether you're a first-time watcher or viewer or you're a continuous watcher like FM Marks Hall of Famer Tommy, or Donate to Brown Snow. Make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Periscope, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS. We are the FM Marks, and if you like, follow, subscribe to us, we will follow you back. Also, make sure you tune into the WrestleMarks page, Wrestling Marks page at facebook.com/WrestleMarks. Make sure you set up notifications so that when we do go live, you will get notified and you can tune in. And in case anybody was wondering, yes, I do that whole spiel with the follow, like, and all that stuff in my sleep. I've actually woken up to that on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that this thing has overtaken my non-existent brain.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
I think that's everything.
Yeah, that's everything. We're definitely done.
Wait. That's right. Because there's 3 guarantees in life. Death, taxes.
From Ned Lamont.
And today, March 21st of 2020, at an incredible 1,889 days, FM Marks Hall of Famer Curtis Axel is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
The 2015 Royal Rumble match will never be called to the coronavirus. There is only one participant still in that match.
That's right. I'd like to see him be like in an empty arena by himself. Ideally, our truth by himself in an empty arena would be the greatest thing ever. Like him being the only person in Tampa Bay.
I hope that our truth and Grub on the WrestleMania pre-show.
Oh my God, that would be tremendous.
Anyway, so for episode 168 of the F and Marks podcast,
I'm Jay
and I am the brainless one. Make sure you mark out.
with the guac out. See you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe.
They could pull that off. We know, Tommy. We're hoping for that.